You people speak of family like you know what that word means. But if you knew what family really meant, you would have never fucked with mine.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, this is Renegade Operative here, and I am making a first impressions video of Mafia 3. Now, before we get started, I wanted to talk about my last video of people trying to either be snide or snarky and trying to say, ha ha ha, I told you so, and prove me wrong about Mafia 3's quality. Now, you guys doing this, you must understand that I don't think Mafia 3 is the greatest game ever after playing it, but I was right on the subject matter. That video was called Mafia 3, a response to negative reactions of the game regarding racism, regarding a black protagonist, people getting up in arms about the protagonist being black. Now, people getting up in arms about this, I said in that video that was completely ridiculous. Like, we seen strong black characters, like we seen fun black characters like Lincoln Clay, for example, the character in the game, and we seen characters like CJ who could crack a joke, who was hilarious, who had depth to their character in regards to their backstory. And I did say that people are being racist about that, and I was not wrong. Let's take another example, the KKK mission, where you play with Lincoln Clay and you're supposed to wipe out these KKK members, you can kill them, etc. I saw an article of that not too long ago where people were being these bigots, these white supremacists, these idiots, going on and saying that this is going to affect their purchase of the game. And personally, I don't care what skin tone someone is. We've seen it before with Resident Evil 5, where people got mad that there was a white protagonist killing black zombie-like creatures. It's a zombie, it's a creature, it's set in Africa. It's like, what else do you expect? So I said the people getting butthurt about that, canceling their pre-orders about that, are stupid. And I still stand by that statement. If you are going to cancel your pre-order over a digital skin color, then you are completely void of having any fun factor with video games. So moving on to the first impressions video, let's talk about the gameplay of Mafia 3. Now, Mafia 3 has problems, obviously. The missions are starting to get a bit repetitive, in my opinion. I only played it for like 6 or 7 hours, but the mission structure is just going around doing these protection racket missions. You might do the occasional story mission where you have to work for someone like Cassandra or Vito Scaletta from Mafia 2. You might have to do stuff like that. So it usually ends with you killing someone. Like, you got to kill the main guy in the protection racket, or you got to go clear it out, or you have to go and collect some stuff for an individual buyer when it comes to drugs and the sale of narcotics. It's like you do an assortment of missions, and this just leads to the same structure. It's the same thing over and over again, and it's not too fun. I would have liked it if the story missions were a little bit more diverse, like Mafia 2. Mafia 2 has some amazing story structure when it came to what you were doing in those missions, interacting with the characters in those missions, and like the banter, the feedback, the dialogue. It was all great. It was all representative of the time period, representative of the characters. You really felt like an Italian gangster when it came to Mafia 2. So it's unfortunate that they couldn't embody this more with the groups of people you were working with. Maybe you could have got missions where you were working with a squad and they had this banter back and forth. But admittedly, Mafia 3, it has these moments, and the moments that they have where you play with other people or you interact with people or their story bits is great. Mafia 3 has some great dialogue and some great story bits from what I'm seeing. You actually feel really sorry for the situation that Lincoln Clay had to go through, and I'm not going to spoil what it is in particular, but you really feel bad when it happens. When shit hits the fan, it's definitely like a Mafia 2 effect. It's like shit just got real in the story, and now it's time to go out there. Now it's time to go out there and exact your revenge. So I think personally, for the most part, I'm really enjoying where this plot is going. The backdrop of it being in the 1960s, where things were very extremely hard for African Americans. That is reflected well in the plot. You see police brutality, you see things going on like oppression, you see how the Italian mobsters really think about the black people in general, and they really just they hit hard. They don't care about any textbook softballing when it comes to the language they use. They say what they have to say in full force, and it's like you're actually in the moment. So that is something I appreciate about the story. As for the gameplay, it's your standard, third person open world game. There's a lot of features that are taken away from Mafia 2 and not included in Mafia 3. Like, you can do these mundane things, like you can put gas in your car, you can go around. The police doesn't ticket you this much in this game, so that's good. Like, you don't have to worry about slowing down like every 6 seconds, trying to hit a speed limiter and the cops just giving you tickets. The police is brutal though, don't get me wrong. I'm playing this on hard mode and I am experiencing a lot of very, very hard adversity to overcome, because the AI the damage is just like so high when it comes to the damage output in hard mode. If you're very much disappointed about the AI in Mafia 3, if you don't like it, if it's not to your fancy, because there are some dumb moments where the AI just tends to, if you're doing a stealth mission, like there's some times where the AI just tends to like walk into the wall or walk over there completely like out of sight from you, even though they see you like in their field of vision. It's really strange how the AI works in this game. Sometimes they don't notice you straight up. Sometimes they venture into areas that really don't make sense, but putting this on hard mode adds a extra layer of hard adversity to overcome. So I would say people complaining about the AI, definitely play the game on hard mode. The game gets very hectic when it comes to the shootouts, so that's something I enjoy. I don't like the fact that you cannot blind fire some heavy weapons like the heavy machine gun. That's disappointing. I do like the brutal takedowns though. They get old after a while, but seeing Lincoln Clay like do the whole knife takedowns, stabbing people in the face, I mean, it's utterly violent, gruesome at its core, and you can choose between like non-lethal takedowns or lethal takedowns. You get options like between what sort of driving style you prefer, like simulation, or if you prefer the regular arcadey driving physics. The driving isn't that bad, I will say. It's not equivalent to something like Watch Dogs where you're sliding all over the place like a fucking ice rink. So the driving is pretty good in Mafia 3 for the most part. It didn't hinder me that much. Each car feels like it has weight when you play on simulation, and I did play on both modes. Playing on simulation on boat, it's impossible to drive a fucking boat on simulation physics. So, but that's besides the point. I do enjoy the driving. It's not a hindrance. The shooting is okay. It's not the greatest. I would like to see some more weapon executions, so the fact that they don't look samey when you do them over and over again. But other than that, the gameplay is just okay for the most part. It's just serviceable, but it's not up to the standard of you can do a billion different things like you could in Grand Theft Auto 5. People comparing this to Grand Theft Auto 5, it's like night and day. Obviously, I think that GTA 5 was a much better and polished game, and I don't remember too many bugs in that game on release for some other people. Now, let's talk about the bugs in Mafia 3. Let's talk about the bugs. The bugs, I only had one game crash on PC, and I'm playing this game on PC. I only had one game crash, and that was it. And I might have saw like some people like when you knock someone out, you see the silly ass animations, so I saw someone strung up in the corner like they were a voodoo doll. But other than that, that was pretty hilarious. But I did not suffer any sort of bug, graphical problem, or a hindrance stopping me from progressing the game outside of one game crash. So the experience differs for bugs. It always does. Some people get a lot, some people don't. So I am in the minority on that one. I have not been getting a lot of bugs in Mafia 3. As far as the replay value goes, it feels similar to the mission structure in the fact that you're doing the same thing over and over again. I will say for the most part that the side missions in Mafia 3 feels like a bit of an afterthought. Mafia 1, the first game in the series, had the most side content where you could do like different missions, races, so many different things that tied into either the plot or either finding out some revelations about certain characters. So I really enjoyed that from Mafia 1, and you don't see that much of that in Mafia 3. It's unfortunate. You're mostly doing the same things over and over again. You can do these wiretap missions, which allows you to have this sort of Batman Arkham view into seeing certain things in the environment, like seeing drug dens and like taking stuff out of there, or finding Playboy magazines, because again, the Playboy magazines carry over from Mafia 2 to Mafia 3. So that's an incentive, I guess, to collect for like achievement hunting, but outside of that, it really doesn't do much. I like the fact that they have this sort of system where it was introduced in Scarface The World Is Yours, where you can go out and you can actually purchase weapons, you can upgrade weapons. That gives you a little bit of an RPG element in Mafia 3. So overall, I will say the game is alright. It's alright, okay-ish. I mean, if people are comparing this game in terms of gameplay to the fun factor, side missions, and variety of content to games like Saints Row 2 or GTA 5, then obviously those games are going to blow Mafia 3 out of the water. And I feel as though this game needed a lot more polish and gameplay elements, so it would be an even greater game. It would be something that is magnificent if they had more varied mission structure. Then I believe that Hangar 13 would have finally hit the mark when it came to this release, but unfortunately we didn't get that. And I feel as though people are giving this game like a 2 or a 1. To me, that is ridiculous. A 2 or a 1 out of 10 is basically a game that is unplayable. You can't play it, you can't boot it, you can't get past the menu screen. Mafia 3 is not a 2 out of 10. I will give it fair a 7, because I feel as though this game needs a lot of improvement. It needed a lot of improvement, and it just didn't get that in time, so it's unfortunate. But the story is compelling. It still is very investing to find out what happens to Lincoln Clay at the end of the story. And this is just my first impressions. This is off the cuff, so it is not as organized as a regular review where I actually write it and then I just recite everything the best I can. So this is my off the cuff impressions of Mafia 3. I played about at least 10 hours so far, 10 hours into the game. I haven't beaten it, and I will come back when I fully beat it. I will come back and write a review for it in full, but I'm just giving my thoughts on Mafia 3. This game is not super duper bad. I would even say this game is a lot better than Watch Dogs. If people are complaining about some of the elements in this game, at least this game has some fine-tuned elements over certain games like Watch Dogs, where you go back to that game and you try to drive and it's just unplayable. You put it down, you can't stand it. Mafia 3 has some okay game elements. It's just marred by some ridiculous animations and AI and not the greatest gameplay, but it's still serviceable. So hopefully my first impressions gave you sort of an insight on how Mafia 3 is. I'm gonna beat it, come back to you with the review. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this first impression video. Take care.